I bet it happened to you before. You saw that Rockstar released a new car. It looks extremely fast and it's super expensive, so you assume it must be a good car. But then, once you spend all your hard-earned money, you find out it's, well, just terrible. In this video, I will present some of my picks of what I think are some really overpriced cars in GTA 5 that you should avoid if you actually want a fast car. The last one will shock you, I guarantee. We start off with the OG money trap in GTA 5. I remember when this first released, it was one of the most expensive cars in the game, and I assumed it was fast just because of that. But then when you actually get it, you realize it is dreadfully slow. It gets a lap time of 1 minute 6, which is 4 seconds behind the top of the class back then, and nowadays it's like 11 seconds, making it the 85th fastest car out of 115 sports cars. While back then being the most expensive sports car by a massive margin, with its massive price of 1.735 mil, which only would be beaten when the Elite GTO was released a couple years later. Little fun fact, while being the most expensive till December 2018, currently it is the 44th most expensive sports car, which kinda highlights Rockstar's inflation. The next car is one of the most recent additions. It is the Tampa GT HSW, which comes in with a price of 2.711 million, which nowadays sadly isn't even that crazy. However, with this car you get no performance for it. In the Masters class it is only the 22nd fastest even though it has HSW, and in HSW races it is 27th out of 27, making it the slowest HSW car. So this car essentially is a waste of money for two racing classes. Our next car is the DT. This car laps well below the top of the sedans class while being quite expensive, coming in at 1.845 million. However, it looks quite cool and I guess it is a nice cruising car, but for racing, it is definitely way overpriced. Our next vehicle is the Shinobi. This bike comes in at 2.480500 with actually a pretty decent lap time of 58.5, which puts it quite high in the motorcycle class. However, it is very similar in performance to the Body 801, which gets a slightly faster lap time while also only costing 15,000, which is 165 times less expensive than the Shinobi. However, the Shinobi has this fun little glitch you can do, so I guess that redeems it a little bit. Another quite recent car, the Rapid GTX. It comes in at 2.7 million, which is definitely on the higher end of the sports class. However, its lap time of 1 minute 1.3 makes it compete with cars half as expensive, and the top of the class is multiple seconds faster at a lower price as well. The next car is pretty similar to the Rapid GTX, the Italy RSX. Although quite fast with its 1 minute 0.8 lap time, it's just a bit too expensive. It comes in at $3.465 million, which is one of the most expensive normal cars in the game. However, in the sports class, both the Pariah and Italy GTO offer better performance for less than half the price. Another sports car. As you might be able to tell, this class is quite overpriced. The OB10F widebody, which sets you back 2.25 million and gives you performance that would be decent in 2013, but in a big 2025, it gets you nowhere, lapping a 1 minute 2.5, which is rivaled by cars literally 10 to 20 times less expensive. The Comet S2 could have been so much more. It got released right in the middle of the Porsche GT3 RS hype, but it just didn't perform. Its 1 minute 4.7 lap time makes it useless in the sports class, and even in the tuners class, it only places 10th, lapping slower than cars from the 90s. All this at a hefty price of 1.8 million. The same story goes for the Cabrio version, which is a whole separate car, which you can also buy for 1.8 million. This one laps 0.5 seconds faster, which is still useless in the sports class, and it doesn't even have access to the tuners class. If you paid attention to the last couple lap times, you might get shocked by this one. The Entity MT is a supercar, not a sports car like the cars before, but a supercar. However, it laps at a crazy slow pace of 1 minute 3 seconds 0.2. And to get to this, you have to pay 2.355 million. However, the Entity MT doesn't stop here. You can also pay some more money to get to 3.2 million with the HSW upgrades. This upgrade, however, only pushes you to a 1 minute 0.5 lap time, which is well below the top of the class and places it 25th in Supers and 12th in HSW. The Tyrant is another supercar that is on the pricey end. It released back in 2018 and came in with a lap time of 1 minute 0.8, so not as terrible as some of the other cars we discussed. However, with a price of 2.515 million back in 2018, it is definitely deserving of this list, especially considering better picks during that period were cheaper by a lot. The Cavalcade XL is just too big, I guess. It laps well below the top of the class with a 1 minute 9 lap time and a hefty price of 1.665 million. However, it is not the worst deal in this class. The Issy Rally also laps at a 1 minute 9 pace, however it is even more expensive at 1.835 million. However, it also has a HSW upgrade, which brings the total to 2.485 million. However, performance-wise it doesn't lift it enough. It is only the 9th fastest SUV and the 26th fastest HSW car out of 27. However, it is still not the worst deal in this class. The Evolution comes in at 1.835 million as well, but laps 3 seconds slower with a 1 minute 12 lap time. However, it is still not the worst bargain. The Granger 3600LX comes in at a massive 2 million and laps at an impressively slow 1 minute 14, making it by far the worst bargain in the SUVs class. This one is really niche as barely anyone races the utility class, however it is worth mentioning. The Slam Truck comes in at a massive 1.31 million, which in this video doesn't sound that high, however it is competing with the Sadler and Faggio, which come in at a couple thousand or free if you get them off the street, and these two are often way faster than the Slam Truck. Another niche racing class, Vans. The Yoga Classic 4x4 comes in at a costly 1.483 million, with a lap time of 1 minute 20, which is 4 seconds slower than the top of the class, while this top of the class is also only priced at 86 to 130k. And now the car you have been all waiting for. The absolutely worst deal in GTA 5 Online. It is of course the Champion. Unlike its name might suggest, it is the champion of nothing, not even being the most expensive, since it's only the second most expensive supercar, because the weaponized Ignis takes that spot at 4.5 mil or 5 mil for the HSW version. However, the Champion still is ridiculously expensive at 3.75 million. But what do you get for this extreme price? Yes, that's right, jack shit. It laps at an incredibly slow pace of 1 minute 4. For reference, the fastest cars of the following classes have better lap times than this supercar: Sports, Muscle, SUVs, Sports Classics, Off-Road, Coupes, and if the top sedan was 0.032 seconds faster, this class would also be faster. So yes, it's just ridiculously slow. It is literally 58 out of 61 supercars, while being one of the most expensive, literally the second most expensive. These were my picks for some of the most overpriced cars in GTA Online. If you know some more, I'm sure there are more, be sure to mention them in the comments to help your fellow players to avoid these money traps. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.